hope you're having a great day. We're going to continue with the 24-hour cardboard challenge, although I'm going to be doing this for a little more than 24 hours, with some breaks, of course. So, my next little project that I'm going to take a look at is that Nora, my daughter, as you may know, loves cats, or kitties, as she calls them. And so I thought I would try to make a little kitty figure, because she loves playing with these different little models of things right now. And so I thought maybe it would be fun to try to make a kitty sculpture as a little project, as a chance to make some stuff. So I have some of my materials. I grabbed some different kinds of cardboard here. This is the bottom of a seltzer container, sparkling water. This is an egg container from a little bit earlier, so I have a couple things available. But I also thought it might be good to kind of draw out what my plan is before I got started. So let's do that, shall we? I have a nice glass top to this. So here's what I'm kind of thinking. Oh, that is not the marker I want to use. That will not erase. That could be a problem. To be fixed later. So I'm going to try drawing this out. So I obviously need a head, which is going to look a little bit like this. We'll need a nose and whiskers and stuff like that. We're going to have some kind of body like this, and maybe some paws. That is not great. So something a little bit like that. And we need 2 of those, because cats have 2 of those. So a little bit like this. Again, you don't have to be perfect on this. And then let's make this cat wear shoes, because this is a stylish kitty. Something like that. And then maybe another one like that. Okay, so it doesn't really have to be perfect. Oh, you're not able to see that. Stand by. Let me fix that. Gotta be able to see this. Okie dokie. All right. So I think we'll get that back. See if we can get that going. Oopsies. It's not absolutely critical, but it's nice to have that overhead view so you can kind of see. There we go. All right, we're back. So it's nice to have that overhead view so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Now, the other thing that I want to be aware of is that each of these, because I'm making this in 2 dimensions, I'm going to need some pieces that kind of connect each of these together, because otherwise it's just going to be a 2D thing, and I really want this to kind of stand up. So I know that for each of these pieces that I create, I'm going to have some connector pieces as well, and I think it's going to make more sense to get to those once I actually put those together. So I don't know. I don't think I have to overplan this, so let's start playing around with this and make some cuts. So now that I have my board, let me see if this works. This would be kind of a neat way to maybe get that drawing onto the cardboard. That is not going to work. So we'll try something else. I also don't know if there's enough cardboard here. I certainly would not want to run out of anything. So let's draw that cat head, number 1. Keep it fairly simple. A little bit bigger. So there's that part, and then I have the chest. maybe to make things easier, these hand parts, I'm just going to, for right now, leave as circles, because maybe a little bit later I can decorate them a little bit more than what I have right now. Might be a good idea. And actually, because I don't want to get the seam, I'm going to draw this thing up here. So there's that. And then I also think I've made another decision. I'm going to make the feet actually be similar to this, because, I don't know, I want to leave a little flexibility in there. So I'm going to draw two more like this and use those for the feet as well. Again, I'm using pen on here. It's okay to use pen, even though it's more permanent than pencil, only because I might make changes to this as I cut. So it doesn't really matter if I kind of change the exact dimensions here. It might, yeah, okay. One more of those. And I'm trying to conserve material, so I'm trying to put these in places that are going to leave some space to continue making more parts, because I know this is not going to be the end of it. So let's start, that wasn't safe. Let's start cutting these out. Thinking it might be easier to kind of cut out the different regions first, and then do the detail cut second. Okay, so there's that. One more. Right. I'll take care of that. Put that back into my supply pile under the desk. I guess I could have left that a little bigger than than what I drew. That's okay. keep some of these scraps nearby because I may want to use them for helping connect all these pieces together. I have plenty of stuff. Let me see if I can get my overhead camera working again. That is not what I want. Alright, well, it may not come back. That's okay. That's all right. So, I have these pieces, and I'm just gonna, I can kind of lay them out. Oh, there's Nora again. Stand by. Decided to work again. Okay, just in time. Right, just in time. So I need to be able to connect all these pieces together. Let me clear off my drawing, because now that we have the parts, I don't really need that anymore. Just using a sock to do this part. All right, so now that I have the components here, I need, oh, I have one more of these to do. Silly me. Alright, so now I'm done with these. Now again, the thought in my head is that this sort of ends up sitting almost up. So these need to go into something that ultimately will connect to this. Now I do have these. I was thinking of using these as a way to maybe hold these things up. The reason I like these is that it's possible to make these, cut them this way, sort of stand flat. And then I can actually make little slits for this and for the body. So there's one there, and here. Not of equal height. We can worry about the details a little bit later. And so what I was thinking is that with this, we could potentially have some slits in each of these for the body to go together in, like that. And then a slit here for the feet to be able to go in. So I would have to make a little cut here. There, and then another one on this off the top. let's see how that works. That really doesn't. I wonder about, maybe I need to make a larger slit so that this can kind of sit in there like that, possibly. So actually get this cut to go up and around the other side almost. Maybe both of these are slits that go around the entire thing like that. No. I mean, it does kind of work, but I'm starting to think maybe I've made this more difficult on myself than I need to. Maybe on this body, I need to have two separate parts with pieces that go down, each one going into the cardboard pieces like this. So, I don't know, maybe I can cut this off a little bit. It might, even if I do this, it might still be a little bit small. So, I might have to redo this entire piece, which would be okay. So do that. All right, it's better. Certainly not straight, but we'll go with it for now. I think that's fine. And then my thought was just making a slot in here for the feet to go in. So maybe a slot that goes right in there would be good. Disassemble it before we do that. So again, so that is here, and the slot needs to be right there. So I'll go to the corner like this to start that cut. I might have to make sure that width is still okay. So it looks okay, but I think I may need to have two separate cuts in there. Make it wide enough for that cardboard to fit in there. It's a little wide, so I'm going to trim this down so it can fit. Now, it is true that I'm doing a lot of figuring things out as I go. And so there's a mix between figuring things out, figuring everything out in the very beginning, and then acting on your plan, doing the full plan. And the idea that's a little more playful, which is I'm going to start with an idea and try to act on it, try to explore it and learn along the way. Because I don't know enough about doing this part. I don't build a lot with cardboard. Certainly not enough of doing artsy stuff like this. crafty stuff like this. So I'm learning as I go to kind of figure out how these tools work. And so as much planning as I might do beforehand, there are some things that I don't learn until I actually sit down and do it. So that's why I'm being a little bit, planning a little bit less than I probably would in another situation where I know the materials a lot better. All right, so I have this one. And what I learned as I was doing this, let's actually put that in there and make sure it still works. That's pretty good. I might need to work on bending that down a little bit. Okay. All right. So there's that. And I'm going to do this one and stick the foot out same way over to the right and kind of cut across this corner. So you can squeeze the end and make a notch and cut a couple notches in there so the cardboard fits. Twist and gives us a nice notch in the corner. And I'm going to assume that I need to trim this down as well. I don't even know if this was the one I had originally designated for the foot or not. But it doesn't really matter. I made them all pretty similar. Okay, so there's that, and there's that. Okay, all right, that's going. The other thing I'll say about the prototyping process is that I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a bit about how the materials work, and once I do understand how these different pieces fit together, then I might sit down with CAD software or an iPad to really sketch things out and draw the pieces a bit more precisely once I know how everything works. Right now, again, I'm just kind of playing around. Okay, so now we are to the point where I need to figure out how this is going to connect to the other pieces. So I need to build a little bit of a neck for this. Let's make that next. And I think the neck really just needs to be a little connector piece with a slit. It's going to go perpendicular, a slit to hook into the body, and another slit to hook into the head. And I can use this also to separate the body and the head because the head isn't right on top of the body necessarily, so I can get some height there. So I'm thinking something like maybe using this piece right here to make that neck. That's going to go perpendicular to hold the two together. Might be needed. So let's do it. Let's do it. And again, I'm going to start with a rectangle to get the functionality just right. Get the placement of the slots just right. And once it is the way I want it, I can make it a little more realistic. So this is going to slip in like this. So make a slot. I don't really know the length to use, so I'm just going to guess. Okay, so there's one slot. There's the other slot. That slot was even, it's a little looser than I want it to be. So that, let's try the head. And same thing. So I probably should have looked, I mean, I can actually tell that neck is way too tall now. Way too tall. So I may even have a chance to fix it and make those slits a little smaller by just cutting off the entire slit that I made. Make it a little smaller like this. Make them closer together so that it sticks a little bit better the body. You learn a lot by doing prototypes like this. Your mind, when you're kind of making and building with your hands, your mind really reasons through a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily know up front that it needs to figure out. So it's a good idea to take some time to kind of build freely like this, to really understand what it is you're working with. Okay, so there's the head. All right. I'm also thinking this might not give me all the stability I want. I might want to have not just slots on this, but maybe 2 of these slots to make sure that that head stands up. So I might cut another one of these, and I might cut some notches in the body right here, and right here, so that there are 2 places that the head actually connects. So I'm going to make a second one of these out of some of my other cardboard. This right here. I'm going to try to make it the same size. One, there's 2. I did not get those lengths the same. I need to check those again. I think that second one, this one, needs to be extended a bit more. Now. Yeah, so now that I can sort of see this coming together, I'm now really seeing that I need to use notches in both the head and the body. It's going to bring the head a little bit lower, closer to the body, which is okay. Still looks pretty good. That's also going to give it a little more of the stability that I think I might need in putting this together. So it's got some notches in the body and also in the head. Makes a huge difference in those staying perpendicular, having those slots there. Okay, that's great. All right. And so now I think I'll make some very small slits in this, in the head, just to give it a little bit more of a shape. I'm just going to see if I can give it even more of a cat shape to it from below. Let me give it maybe a half moon shape right here. Okay, now there are two reasons why I'm doing that. Number one, I need to make sure that, actually that works pretty well, doesn't it? Give a little bit of space there. And now the head sort of matches the curve of the body. Yeah. And now that these are sort of sticking out, there's a lot of extra space right here that I don't need, so I'm now going to trim down those connecting pieces so that I just have the length that I need. Make it a almost dog bone shape. There, that's there, and throw the head in there. All right, cool. Now just kind of looking at this, I now see this could be one piece. I could simplify the build just a little bit, make all of that one piece. I didn't originally think that I wanted it that way, but it might make sense to do it. All right, so let's now look at these. So I want to do something similar. I'm now thinking this actually could attach on the side. I don't need a separate connector piece. This could just go directly into a slot in the body, just kind of stick out like that. So let's do that and see how it looks. I'll try it on one side first, just to kind of see how it looks. So it's doing the same thing that the head was doing before, that tilted piece, so it tells me that I definitely want to cut a notch in this one as well. So there's that. And that foot definitely needs a little more stability. So there are the pieces. Kind of see how those go together. And now that I'm looking at it, I don't think these legs here, I don't think that really does it. I was thinking maybe I didn't want to do something like this up here as I'm piecing this together, but now I kind of think it would be nice to have a little bit of a leg in there, just stylistically that's similar to what's here. I'm also thinking I might want to have a connector for this arm so that it can kind of stick out, so a few more pieces like that. So I'm going to make a few more connectors just like these. I'm going to modify the body a little bit more, and now I can sort of standardize these as connectors that I can use for my model. So I'm going to make a few pieces just like that. I know I can reassemble those, but it's really, now that I'm seeing how nice it can be to have pieces like this to connect, I want a few more like this. So building some connector pieces that are similar, I now know that I want that in my part kit. I didn't know that at the beginning. Now I do. So that's why you go through this prototyping process. I'm constantly going and trying things, testing, modifying along the way. I'm not necessarily completing a full design cycle every single time. I'm constantly going through mini design cycles, looking at what I've done, evaluating, all of that. Let's make a few pieces like this. One more, I think. All right, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. Do. So let's cut the slots. And just at this point, it can be very useful to decide on some things, to be consistent. For example, if I go for about a centimeter notch in there, and I make all of them a centimeter notch, then it means that I know that all of them will kind of fit as I use them. It also means that these are exchangeable. So as we build this and take it apart, if we forget which piece goes where, that's okay. And that's not necessarily the case if you don't sort of standardize the lengths of everything. Well, since I've lost my wide shot. Okay, so there's that. That's 4, and I need 2 more. As I'm going, I'm also finding little ways to make this process more efficient. So I'm not even trying to cut the ends of these notches. I'm making the notch. I'm pulling the notch. Show you a little bit more in detail. So I'm pulling the notch out, and then I'm just tearing it off, and that's leaving it clean enough for that piece. The last one. try putting this back together now. So the head, these are my new connectors for the arms. Now let's put on the new legs. Need to cut some slots for this. Huh. Oh. So I'm realizing now that if I attach this as I had the other pieces attached, it looks like this.
Can I have mango?
So what I want these feet to stick out kind of like this. So I need another piece now. I need to cut one more piece that kind of goes into this so that the feet kind of stick out. So I'm going to wrap this up. This is kind of cool. I'm going to go and see Nora's over there. Excited to give this to her, see what she says. But I've learned a lot in building with this. Whenever you're trying to build something in 3D from a 2D material like cardboard, you have to think about how the connectors are going to go together. How are you going to build connectors that are in the same plane? As you can see, we have the cat head and also the body. And also, how are you going to attach things that are not in the same plane that need to be perpendicular? If I want to attach this to be in this hand to be in the same plane as the body, I need a perpendicular piece in order to do that. So as I'm thinking about this part of the design, I need to make something that is perpendicular here, but then also sticks out this way so that I can have a perpendicular piece that can rest on. So I have a long way to go to really understand how to use this, but this is giving me some great ideas for tomorrow to play around with this further and maybe build something a little more practical than what's happening here. This is not the sort of thing I normally make. Normally I make things that are a little more practical, but this has been fun as a way to explore what can be done with this material. So that's going to do it for me for today. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a lot of fun working on your own 24-hour cardboard challenge project. See you all later.